Femi Adesina, special advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on media and publicity, says Nigeria should be given some credit because things are looking up for the country. Commenting on Nigeria's 2020 unemployment figures in an interview yesterday, Adesina said it is typical of Nigerians to focus only on the negatives and pay little attention to the positives. Q4 unemployment report recently released by the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics showed that Nigeria's unemployment rate hit 33%, the highest ever recorded. He stressed that there are also some positives in Nigeria's economy depending on what aspect being focused on. According to the presidential spokesman, quote, in any country in the world, if you want to focus on the negatives, there'll always be more than enough you can see and talk about. Then there'll always be silver linings in the sky from time to time. It is typical of Nigerians to see that when those silver linings come, but we don't talk about them. Should we forget the fact that there's 33% unemployment poverty in Nigeria?
Absolutely not. But I have to say that Femi Adesina is just doing the job for which he's paid, which you know better than anybody else. It is his job to try and accentuate the positive, and that's fine. I appreciate that in itself. But the job of us, the citizenry, is to hold the government accountable, is to point out where needs improvement. We can't all be praise singers 24/7. Of course not. So I do think that his commentary is in order, considering what he's paid to do. But our commentary as the media and as the public is also in order. It's perfectly fine. I mean, he does make a point about other countries experiencing the COVID-19 related economic downturn, and that much I will accept out of everything that he said.
Dr. Matthew?
Well, I don't know whether this is the right topic for me to comment on. Femi Adesina being my successor in that assignment. But I think it's like this. Look, his main point is that life, even life itself, is about the rough and the smooth. There are things that will never go well. There are things that will go smoothly. And it is like that even with government. In other words, even the life of government are replicating nature itself, because nature presents you with contradictions. Nietzsche, I think it was, who said that it was from those binary, from that binary of opposites that you get the truth about reality. But when it comes to governance, Femi Adesina, as spokesperson, has been very consistent in telling Nigerians to focus on the positive side, as I also tried in my time. But the major issue is that, look, Nigeria has been facing, since the 80s, a crisis of rising expectations. It doesn't matter what any government does. The people will insist that government can do more. And people respond on the basis of what they think that the government is doing or the government is not doing. It will be very difficult in this instance to convince the people of Nigeria that there are many great positives. If unemployment rate jumped to 33.3%, something that was around 8%, 7%, 9% between 2015 and 2016, and it's now at 3.3%. If inflation has jumped so radically, it is now, in the range of 17.7%. If food inflation has jumped up to 21 point something percent, if insecurity is the problem across Nigeria, and you have persons who previously would not talk about secession, are now talking about secession, and they are trying to redraw the map of Nigeria. Now, Femi Adesina will tell you on a good day that there is, President Buhari has done very well with security challenges. But the counter-argument from an ordinary Nigerian will be, okay, what happened over 2 weeks now to those students from the Ministry of Forestry, the College of Forestry Mechanization? So it's a very difficult job. It's not something I can define in a few minutes. But I think that the major challenge that President Buhari faces is to keep this country united under his watch. Nigeria must not disintegrate under his watch. And whatever it takes, he must do that to make sure that, Nigeria, it doesn't get remembered as the president under whose watch Nigeria is disintegrated. He must keep Nigeria united. And beyond that, of course, Femi Adesina's job is to help the president define his legacy. Because he's talking about positives. what are those positives that constitute the legacy. That's a grand project that they will need to focus on.
Thank you so much. They better get well on their way, and good luck to them and Godspeed. All right, that's all the news headline. We'll take a short break now. Where we return, we'll have Rutu Zadiri, Michael Wilson, Adesina Mora, Aaron Akiriola to give us updates on Africa, global business, COVID-19 and sporting activities across the globe. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the morning show right in the Rising News channel. Our dependable Rutu Zadiri is here to give us Africa business update. Over to you, Rutus. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning to you all. We quickly begin with the Central Bank of Nigeria at the Enugu International Trade Fair. The central bank says that they want to leverage on technology in order to boost economic growth. The ICT sector grew by 17.34% in Q4, so it makes sense that they'll want to leverage on that for growth. Speaking of tech, take a look at this day cover from yesterday. Tech, Nigeria's new oil. There's a WhatsApp message, private WhatsApp message. I have to edit out the person who sent it, but take a look at this WhatsApp message. This day is so influential. I've been chasing an investor that has serious market access for 2 months. He called me an hour ago, deal done. That hour was within that this day cover being published. Power of this day, power of technology in Nigeria. It's incredible stuff. Also, Nigerian pensions. Pensions fell by 77 billion naira from December of 2020 to January of 2021. People falling out of work, people losing their jobs, less contributions going to pensions. So assets under management, that's AUM, dropped by 77 billion. We're at 12.29 trillion naira from about 12.306 in December. Let's go to Mine, Steel and Development. The Honorable Minister of Mine, Steel and Development, Olamilekan Adegbite, says that Nigerians will soon be able to use gold as collateral to collect loans. He didn't say when it will take place. He didn't say if the spot price of gold on the international market is what to be used to value it. But if you're an SME, in the near future, you'll be able to deposit gold in a vault of a bank, use it as collateral, collect a loan, and when you pay off the loan, you can return it and get your gold back. To oil and gas, Atedo Peterside sent out another tweet. 2019 PH refinery, zero revenue, incurring losses, but yet instead of using the Bureau of Public Enterprises to sell it, NNPC is again wanting to go through this rehabilitation of $1.5 billion. He's still pushing this matter that a public debate needs to be done. The government of Nigeria sent out a tweet early on hours. President Buhari is going to be speaking at an event called A Decade of Gas, pushing Nigeria towards a gas-powered economy by 2030, hosted by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, is going to be there. We're looking forward to the President's comments at about 10 a.m. this morning. More oil and gas news. Mozambique has had to halt their $20 billion liquid natural gas project in Mozambique because of the insurgency that has continued to plague the northern parts of Mozambique. Had to evacuate about 1,000 staff from the area. Unfortunately, there are about 7 people reported dead. They halted the project back in January, saying they needed more security from the government of Mozambique. After they announced on Wednesday that they would resume activities, within 24 hours there was an insurgent attack. I think some reports say it might be Al-Shabaab or so, but it's terrible stuff that's going on there because, again, that is the largest, in terms of FDI, largest product on the African continent. FCMB continues the tradition of other banks in Nigeria that have been doing well. Their earnings came out double-digit growth for FCMB Bank. I believe they are... Let's get FCMB Bank up. The FCMB Bank, 13 billion naira after profit after tax is what they put up there. This is their asset growth. Asset growth was up to 23%. Loans to customers boosted their assets growth as well as their investment securities. They did very well in bond trading. If you can take a look at their earnings for their income statement, I think we have the income statement as well. We can put that up as well. All right. Well, the bank did pretty well in terms of continuing the tradition of prior banks in the Tier 1 space, Tier 2 space. Sports. have to mention this. Aaron will give you the details. Frank Ngannou, who is from Cameroon, is the new UFC heavyweight champion. There's something to be said for this. We now have 3 divisional champions in heavyweight division: Francis Ngannou of Cameroon, middleweight Israel Adesina of Nigeria, welterweight Kamaru Usman. What does this mean? The significance of this, if we take a look at what this means in terms of the significance, is ticket sales. More Africans are going to be watching the UFC. No other continent has this many. Let's take a look at the significance. No other continent has this many divisional champions. So you're looking at going down the line, increased viewership, more ad revenue for the UFC, more spotting of African talent, more lucrative contracts coming in, more endorsement deals. And that's our update.
That's a great place for me to jump on, my friend Rotus. The truth has to be said. More of this, but that money is not filtering into Africa. What can we do? We should get promoters now that can set up UFC bouts that'll fund it on the African continent so that that money will come.
What about Joshua?
You know, and Joshua too,
well,
you know, the boxer. Right. If we can get promoters now to bring those big fights in, you know, it's days like this I miss Francis Ayegbeni. That man that owned Dirovas Hotel in the band, one of the biggest boxing promoters. Put your money where your mouth is. I bet if one of this big fight coming, then definitely you could rake in a lot of bucks for people and set up that ecosystem itself. You know, tons of people go to see the Eiffel Tower in France. France is one of the most visited countries in the world, and guess what people want to see? The Eiffel Tower. Right. That somebody, Gustav Eiffel, built a couple of years ago. So we should turn this into a big industry for ourselves. Real quickly, moving over to Mozambique, they need to fix that problem once and for all, because Mozambique is on a precipice. There's increased poverty. There's also insurgency, and you know the mix is not always good. Quickly moving over, I don't know the questions, you know, we're asking ourselves in this country, but I thank God for a man like Atedo Peterside constantly asking those questions. A place making 47 billion in losses, you still want to put 1.5 billion, and you think you want to turn it around in over 10 years? It's not going to work. Let's not deceive ourselves. That cost will only increase, and a lot of it has been frittered away in corruption. Tech is the new oil, like you said, Rotus. Yes. I got 3 companies. Flutterwave, you've got, what's the other one? Paystack, and you've got Interswitch. Interswitch, yes. These 3 companies are unicorns. A unicorn is capitalized at 1 billion. So these 3 companies are bringing in $3 billion US. They are way bigger than most of the companies put together on a national stock exchange. That's to show you the power of tech. It has flipped the envelope. It's
the future.
And it's the future.
The big issue for me is the statement made by Mr. Atedo Peterson. And he's been very consistent. He's saying that we need a debate. At the moment, the conversation has been between the NNPC and Nigeria and the Minister of State for Petroleum, Chief Timipre Silva. Now, Nigeria is saying, that's the federal government, that there is a lot of arbitrage. Nigerian oil is being sold in Sudan, in Cameroon, and other people are making a premium. Now, that's the kind of debate, a major point in the debate Tedo Peterside is asking for. How is it that whatever oil we produce or import here escapes, and then we're talking about, okay, preventing that by raising the pump price of fuel to 243 naira per liter, or at some point, 500 naira per liter. Is there an omission on the part of government? Now, Mele Kyari, GMD of NNPC, says, well, the current regime is unsustainable. Right. Okay, what is not unsustainable? Who has been paying the subsidy? Because if anybody has been paying subsidy after we were told that market forces would determine the prices, and there was no appropriation in the 2020 budget and the 2021 budget, it means that some persons have been engaged in illegal and criminal conduct.
Yes, sir.
Clearly.
To the disadvantage of Nigerians. That's another debate that Mr. Peterside is probably pointing to. The third issue has to do with social consequences. Who has been talking and who is the Nigerian government talking to? They say they've been having meetings with labor. What is it? What are the details of the discussion? I mean, organized labor cannot just, on behalf of everybody, acquiesce and agree without a proper stakeholder community, engagement to convince Nigerians that Nigerians will need to pay 243 naira per liter. And what is in place by the Nigerian government to deal with the knock-on effect in terms of galloping inflation, in terms of rising costs, Because if you sell fuel at 243 naira per litre,
Everything was.
in fact, all of us will start trekking because we will just abandon the cars. I may have to trek from the mainland to the to Victoria Island or Ikoyi on a daily basis. Well, do you know what that will mean? Okay, these are some of the issues.
Right.
Before now, Timi Presiva, the Minister of State for Petroleum, said they were going to introduce compressed natural gas.
Yes.
Okay, who is going to pay for the compressed natural gas?
Who
is going to pay for the conversion? They've talked about liquefied petroleum gas.
Yep.
I mean, these are very serious issues that could have implications for stability in Nigeria. And I think that the job of, conducting that conversation should not be left alone to the General Managing Director of NNPC or to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, who, as you pointed out earlier on, is going to make a presentation on gas this morning. Okay, they've been talking about gas infrastructure. Do we have that gas infrastructure? Now, what Atedo Peter side is pointing to is that, look, these people, they just want to incur more cost on behalf of Nigerians, incur more debt. Now, who is going to pay for that debt? Where is the money going to come from? So I'm on all fours in terms of my views with Atedo Peter side. And very quickly, maybe it's something that Aaron would deal with. Israel Adesina, our world champion who lost the other day. He's been having very serious issues. BMW, had signed him on as a potential, ambassador. They had to drop that because he's been making some statements about rape, saying that he will rape somebody and all that. Well, I think that there may be a lesson to take away from his experience. People have to be careful, whether it's in Japan, where the ruling party or the former chairman of the organizing committee of the Olympics talked carelessly about women. So these are the issues in my view.
All right.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you so much for your time, Ross. Really appreciate you. Moving on to more business updates, I should say this morning. Michael Wilson joins us from Doma. Great to have you, Michael.
Good morning. Yeah, it looks like the giant container ship's been freed, at least in the Suez Canal, not from the Suez Canal. There's a huge backlog of ships behind it and so on. It's as you know, over the weekend, there have been lots of stories about why it's done it and all the rest of it. Egypt's authorities have done, it looks like, a relatively good job, although I suspect it's much more to do with the salvage operations, the salvage operators, than the canal operators themselves. But it's still, I would absolutely stress this, unclear as to when the canal is actually going to be open to traffic and when they will have cleared the backlog. And still, those huge costs, $400 million an hour. Had to laugh over the weekend when I heard the governor of Western Province in South Africa saying that sailors would be very welcome to come via Cape Town, should they wish. You don't get good wines alongside the Suez Canal in the same way that you do in Cape Town. No, you don't get millions added to freight costs either, but that's another story. So a busy week coming up for the world's markets. Those knock-on effects of world trade will still be going on. I'll give you a quick Asia overview. Wall Street held its own despite those large-scale stock liquidations of a distressed asset manager. I'll give you more detail of that in a second. Asia appears to have shrugged that off. China industrial profits, look at this figure, 179% up year on year. But the reason that is, of course, is it was so low a year ago. And this is the thing with all these kind of figures. They're all reflecting, including inflation figures we're going to get, are coming for a very, very low base. So beware of drawing too many conclusions from what's going on. It looks like those industrial production figures will somehow assuage geopolitical reprisals against China companies, Australian wine, Xinjiang cotton and all the rest of it. Whether that it is ready to be isolated, though, in a global context, and whether it will stay trading with governments that decide not to be on message, as we say these days, with China's Communist Party as well, Communist Party, well, there you go. Asian markets then, equity higher today, despite the geopolitical worries. Should see an intraday boost from the fact that that boat's now been apparently refloated in the Suez Canal. But I add all those riders about this is no immediate solution. US futures doing reasonably well in Asia. Nikkei climbed up about 1%, Kospi up 0.2%, and the Shanghai up nearly 1%. Story about Nomura, the big Japanese bank. Now, I was talking a bit about what happened on Friday. There was a fire sale of $20 billion worth of China's and US stocks in a massive unwinding on Friday of Archegos Capital Management behind millions of dollars of shade. What Nomura, we suspect, is involved in that, and it may lose a lot of money. I'm going to talk to you now about a Chinese video platform called Bilibili, one of the many which has decided to list outside China. Its shares opened on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange 2.2% below their issue price. It's a bit like YouTube, really. Listing is the latest in a series of these companies called Homecomings, the US listed companies. They've sought out secondary listings in Hong Kong due to increased scrutiny from US regulators, which began under Donald Trump. No change there. US recap then. Stock futures dipped in overnight trading overnight in Asia into where we are now and then into the United States. Futures on the Dow Jones fell 110 points. Again, there was that big that sell-off yesterday, but the US will grab, I think, most of the attention this week on Wednesday when President Biden unveils the $3 trillion Build Back Better program, BBB program. It may be that affects the US credit rating. It may be that it affects taxation. It may be there's another temper tantrum as far as yields are concerned. Who knows? But anyway, we'll be talking about that. That'll spike again on Friday. Bringing you to the UK, the government here has rejected a call to support Liberty Steel. If you remember, we did this last week. Firms founder Sanjeev Gupta sent a letter last week asking for help to pay day-to-day operating expenses and absorb recent losses. Liberty's owner GFG employs 5,000 staff in the UK, and its key financial backer, of course, Greensill Capital, filed for insolvency last week. You've heard of a Christmas tree. Ever heard of an Easter tree? Well, it looks like there are a couple of I know it's weird, isn't it? A couple of shops here actually promoting an Easter tree because they hope that Easter will be the new Christmas. It's become significant this year, of course, as it's the first time in months that many families and friends will be allowed to get together. And apparently, one of our supermarkets, which you will know the name of, Sainsbury's, searching for Easter trees. Yeah, seriously, up 977% compared with this time last year. Never heard of an Easter tree last year. UK and EU week ahead. We're going to get PMI data in the UK, but there'll still be squabbles about vaccines and so on. That will cast shadows over the euro. Surprised the euro is still as strong as it is. Sterling and regional equities will do reasonably well. Deliveroo, that much heralded IPO in London, getting publicity, A, because of its value, and B, because it marks the beginning of a kind of dual system of listing. In other words, the directors of the company will be, under the listing, have a say about its future. It's been snubbed by a top tech investor in this country, Scottish Mortgage. James Anderson, he of the heading of that company, has said he's very lukewarm about Deliveroo, not convinced that the slower growing markets and its over dominance will do it well as it's expected, and it will find it difficult to replicate the success of delivery companies around the world. They've invested in these. There's Meituan in China, Delivery Hero in Asia, and then Grubhub in the United States. Anyway, we get a flotation price from Deliveroo on Wednesday. Public here, as I said, have been told to be responsible. Now we can actually mix with 6 people. We can have barbecues and picnics and country walks and things like that, which is all very, very jolly. And we can opening outdoor swimming pools, a bit chilly, I would suggest, at this time of year, tennis courts and golf courses. And finally, commodities, oil markets falling on the Suez news, as you'd expect. Gold's consolidation continues. 1,730 an ounce right now, and it's not actually, there's going to be no price action there, I feel, unless it starts to test some of its technical limits, but I won't bore you with those, and I'm sure you don't want to be bored with them, quite honestly. Week ahead then, so the big one, US jobs figures before Good Friday should outperform handsomely, I would imagine, as the US recovery accelerates, and that we'll be talking about that towards the end of the week. That is your global view.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I do have to go back to the Easter trees from Sainsbury's. That is shocking. I mean, is there no depth people will not go to commercialize the life and, crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ? It's bad enough that we have Easter eggs and bunnies that have naught to do with anything. So I really have to register my objection there. I'm completely scandalized by this. But I wanted to ask you about the election going on in Alabama. Amazon union elections. What's at stake here for Amazon and just the wider industry?
Well, I think that Amazon workers will be looking for something out of that, won't they? In the same way that Uber drivers have, and Deliveroo bicyclists as well, delivery people all over the world, wondering actually what is the gig economy and whether these people actually ought to be paid according to their wages, whether they're busy or not. That's the thing with Uber drivers. It's a very, very complicated business, actually. But what will happen is, I guarantee you, if there's any legal action about this and they are paid more, then you and I will end up paying more in our prices. It's as simple as that. And maybe we've had things for too cheap for too long.
Well, Michael, let me start by wishing you what one newspaper in London today says, Jabby Monday. I hope it's a very happy Jabby Monday, now that the rule of 6 is back and people can enjoy some form of sports. But very quickly, the Suez Canal. Yes, the vessel has been refloated, but for how long would the closure of that channel last? Now that we see many of the vessels, particularly U.S. vessels, having to go through a Cape of Good Hope. And what will be your assessment of the impact of all of that, what has happened in the last 6 days on the global supply chain in terms of cost? That's the one leg of it. The second leg of it is the other day, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, when he had his first press conference after 60 days, was saying that, look, they will not allow, that the United States will not allow China to become the leading global economy. And now we have Simon Baptist, the chief global economist for the Economic Intelligence Unit, saying that, well, from their own calculations of GDP per capita, yes, China may be improving economically on an annual basis, but in terms of prosperity, it will not happen that China will overtake the United States for the next 50 years. Is that given? Do you agree with him?
China first, then. I think China has big problems. Yes, I think it probably, if you actually were to add it up, if we could get access to the figures and you were to have the time and could be bothered, I think if you add it all up, you'd find that China is in fact a bigger economy, bigger economy in total than the United States is right now. But that's a matter for debate. In terms of prosperity, I think it's got a long way to go. Yes, certainly, because it's a communist state which is surrounded by capital outside, so capitalism outside. So how do you calculate what the personal per capita head of prosperity is in a communist state? I have absolutely no idea. You might as well try to calculate what North Korea does, quite honestly. The weakness of China, I get all the stuff. I don't think that the US is going to have much say in it. It depends what people actually want to buy from China. But the problem is that they face a big demographic challenge in a few years' time because their one child per family policy, which was actually relaxed a few years ago, hasn't involved an increase in the birth rate. That's the most important thing. And as countries get more, I hate this word, but I'll use it, sophisticated, in other words, as more people come out of the country and get urban jobs, families shrink. They shrink because people are more prosperous. In prosperous countries, families tend to get smaller, and also because of accommodation as well. That is the challenge that China actually faces at the moment.
Great point, Michael.
Suez Canal, we're talking about the Suez Canal. As I said, I think it'll take a long time for it to clear. There's a backlog of about 300 ships either way. If they can get this one into the Bitter Lakes, then they might find that some help happens. But in terms of supply chains, I would think a lot of people are looking at that. Number two, I think a lot of people are looking at the conduct of the pilots on the Suez Canal. And number three, I think they'll be looking at the size of ships from now on. Remember, I was saying to you last week, it was not in Evergreen's founder's mind to have such a big ship sailing for the company.
And great point you made about China and how urbanization just shrinks population, because exactly the problem Japan is going through. That's why Japan pretty much has stagnated since 1990, and that's been the case with, and there's an older population, and that's why Japan can't re-engineer itself. But I had a lot of questions about, the new Chinese YouTube, as it said, but no time to talk about that and other things. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. I will go quickly to Adesina. Adesina, great to have you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Abati, and good morning, Sundum.
Morning.
Well, globally, there have now been over 126 million cases of, over 127 million, cases of coronavirus cases, at least 2.7 million deaths, and more than 71 million recoveries. That's according to the Johns Hopkins University tally. Now, here in Nigeria, 104 new infections were recorded in the last 24 hours in 12 states. Lagos State saw the most infections and a backlog of fatality. There were also 7 deaths recorded in the last 24 hours. Let's take a look at the national vaccination update here in Nigeria. According to the NPHCDA, over 500,000 people have now received their first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in all states except Kogi State. There's still no activity in Kogi State. And the breakdown, the next table shows Kwara, Ogun, and Bauchi states ahead in meeting their target population for phase 1. However, Lagos has administered the most number of jabs. We see Kwara State hitting about 94% of its target population in this phase 1 already. So things are moving slowly but surely. And speaking of Lagos State, the latest statistics reveals over 127,000 people have now been vaccinated. A press release over the weekend shows more essential workers have been vaccinated, actually 54,200 people, followed by healthcare workers at 39,995, and then strategic leaders in the state, 33,726 of them. The gender distribution in Lagos also shows that more women are getting vaccinated than men. And according to the government, through the Commissioner for Health, the state has had to extend its phase 1 vaccination for its frontline workers and strategic leaders, as well as those above 70, which is the phase 1, for another 10 days starting today. The government is also appealing to those who are not in this phase not to show up at the 88 vaccination sites. Still on vaccines in Nigeria, over the weekend, the federal government has had to debunk the possibility of any fake COVID vaccines being administered or sold by unauthorized institution in the country. The circular, which is on your screen, from the Ministry of Health, puts all chief medical directors and directors of federal tertiary institutions on alert. This follows a letter from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, actually, regarding the seizure of about 3,000 doses of fake COVID-19 vaccines that were destined for Africa from China. It's also reminding them that all the COVID-19 vaccines coming to Nigeria must come in through the Abuja International Airport. And finally, this morning to China, where data released by the Chinese National Health Commission yesterday actually showed that a total number of 102.42 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered. This places China right behind USA, which has administered the most jabs globally, about 143 million doses. China is also saying that one of its major vaccine makers has supplied more than 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines globally. The country is prioritizing vaccinating its working population to keep its economy going. So China seems to be upping its game right behind the USA.
Adesina, let's start with Nigeria.
Yes.
Or in fact, let's start with Lagos. I think it's very good, it's commendable that the Lagos state government is giving us again an update on the vaccination process in Lagos. But What I find in that is that, well, within the first week, they were able to do about 40,000. Within 10 days, they've been able to do 127,000. And Professor Abayomi went further on Sunday to disaggregate that.
Yes.
And we know that the places where people have been very enthusiastic, it will include Etiosa, as he pointed out, Lekki, and this
Lagos mainland,
Ikeja, Alimosho, which is
Yes.
the biggest political constituency in Africa, as we're told. But how about those places where what will be in demonstration will be perhaps vaccine hesitancy? Now, maybe I shouldn't jump to that conclusion. Why would people in Apapa not be showing up to collect the vaccine? Ekpe, Badagry, Ibejuleki, these are the local government areas that the commissioner mentioned. And I think that it's not enough for him to give that report. It means that there's work to be done there.
Yeah.
Is it a problem with the vaccination centers in those areas? Are they properly resourced and mobilized? Or could it be a question of vaccine hesitancy on the part of people in those local government areas? So I think that, that's what the commissioner should do going forward, beyond just giving us the report. And I will hope, and we expect that similar reports will be given by other states of the Federation, because vaccination, public health management is not something you can just do in secrecy.
Yes.
You have to give the people information in order to encourage them, particularly as we deal with this COVID-19 pandemic. As for fake vaccines from China, now this is not a news story. You will recall that in the first week of March, Interpol reported that in China and in South Africa, some persons have been arrested, over 80 persons arrested in China, and also in South Africa, some promoters of scam vaccines were also arrested. And indeed, Interpol, as far back as December 2020, had drawn global attention to the fact that, look, there are some scammers, there are some criminals who will be selling COVID-19 vaccines. It's good that the Ministry of Health of Nigeria is on top of the matter, and that the presidential panel on COVID-19 has also spoken up, and NAFDAC has also spoken up. What are the issues? Yes, they say they will restrict it to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, where that's fine. But what happens within the general community? I think, again, the challenge is one of advocacy. The user, or rather, that old caveat emptor, although that is not the strict thing here, but the user should beware.
Yeah.
We have been told that people should not take vaccine from an unauthorized center. Interpol has said, do not get your vaccine through online providers, right? Now, the Nigerian government has also said that security of these vaccines is important. I hope they are working on that, because part of the concern of Interpol is that people can attack warehouses.
Yes.
They can steal the vaccines and begin to provide them. But again, it's a question of the people being aware. You can only take your vaccine from an authorized center. So before we have people beginning to sell vaccines at Okukomaiko and Alaba market. But the bigger challenge, of course, is that with the issue we have with vaccine supply, with the Serum Institute saying that they are having issues with production. What happens with the second dose in Africa, in Nigeria, and what efforts are being made by African countries to make sure that they diversify the source of vaccines?
I mean, the first thing to do in terms of things like this is, number one, the intelligence team now should be trying to crack and infiltrate those vaccine networks. They should pose as buyers of those vaccines online and see who is ready to sell to them and do business.
Been doing it.
That's the first way to crack. They should be able to infiltrate this network, these cells, where they are originating from, whatever they are doing right about now. Second thing, a long-held, old-school barcode will do the magic. There's a barcode on every vaccine card you get, so you can't even, infiltrate the card. You can't do a fake card because it's not going to work. That is uploaded on WHO website. That should also be the same for every vaccine vial bottles to be able to keep the security intact. There are some other measures I can share with them if they want, but I'll not talk about on air. but criminals are bound that we can crack them and stop them.
Share. The thing about it, though, I saw this article that had all these adverts on the dark web, how they've been tracing these things. What is it in the human psyche that makes you go on the dark web to order a vaccine, same-day delivery, what have you? Why not just get in line and wait your turn and do it officially? This is what I was talking about last week, about people thinking it's cool or sort of, I don't know what word, my vocabulary fails me at this point, some kind of elitist thing to skip the queue, but you're only harming yourself when you do that.
Yeah. And then they have to worry about the disposal of those used vials. So that the criminals do not take them and recycle them with saline, solutions and then harm the rest of us. Everybody should just do what we know to be right for a change.
All right. Thank you so much, Adesina, for your time. Really appreciate you.